Hello everybody. This is Yoko's Anime Reactions. Or rather, this is gonna be that. And I was like, wait, how do I even introduce this? Because to be completely honest, I am also recording this. So, yeah. For those of you who are actually here at the moment, hang on. Let me pull up my Twitch real quick on my phone. Gotta make sure my volume is turned down. Turn that down. Let's see. Okay, hang on, guys. What the? No. Go away. I want to go to my library. These are all the books that I've got. Ooh, 3 followers. Nice! Thank you so much. Ooh, David. Really? David Candro? You're following me on here? Nice, thank you. Okay, I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to talk to you guys, but Lelouch gave me this idea of streaming this on Twitch, the readings on Twitch, and then, you know, uploading them, you know, picking them up and everything, and uploading them on YouTube, which actually it grow my Twitch audience as well. Let's see. Which one do you guys want me to do? Because I've got... Oh, wait, what am I saying? I'm already figured out which one. This one. That's what I put in the title. Hey, what happened to the... Okay, here we go. Copyright, what? Oh, here we go. Okay, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to reply to anybody, but I figured, you know, why not do this? Try this out and see if this works. If it does work, good. If not, I'll just do it like I normally do. Here's the prologue for In and of the World of My Smartphone, Volume 1. And so far, I've only got the first volume of all the other books I've got so far, so, yeah. I do hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I am sorry to say that you are dead. I see. The old man bowed his head before me. There we were, in a sea of clouds. They stretched out as far as the eye could see, perhaps even farther than that. Amidst it all, we sat together on a small square of tatami mats. 4.5 tatami mats, to be precise. It was a simple little room, though that description was a loose fit since it lacked both walls and a roof, and was floating in the clouds. It was furnished with a small tea table, a set of drawers, an old CRT TV, and an old-fashioned telephone. It was all very classic, if nothing else. Let me get my mouse over here. But all that aside, back to Lord God, or at least the man who claimed to be God. This God guy claimed that I had died in some accident of his making. But honestly, for a dead man, I certainly didn't feel very lifeless. As I remembered, rain suddenly started pouring while I was on my way home from school. I was taking a detour through the local park, at which point I was assaulted by a blinding light and a thunderous roar. I am afraid to say that I have made a bit of a blunder when I dropped some lightning into the world below. Truly, I am sorry about my mistake. I never intended for it to strike anybody. The chances of it happening are so low to begin with. Really, I cannot apologize enough. Oh, yeah, it does kind of lack walls and a roof. So, yeah, I wouldn't really call it a room. I'd call it a little area, I guess. Oh, and the reason I had to scroll so far back to get to the beginning is because I had already started reading it last night, so, yeah. So, the lightning scored a critical hit, which killed me. Well, that makes sense. So, is this heaven then? Ah, no, this is actually far above heaven. Ooh, Ooh, yay! Manolia Meow, yay! Thank you so much. Thank you so much for following me. Wait, it says I have... Wait, what? Hang on. It said I had 3, so why did it not... Maybe? Okay, never mind. I guess the 2 followers was David Cantrell and the other person, which I think was Lelouch, I think. And Manolia Mao was the 3rd person. Thank you so much for following me. Thank you. You're awesome. Anyway, no, this is actually far above heaven. It is where all the gods live. You could call it the divine realm, I suppose. I actually had to summon you here myself. Humans ordinarily cannot ever hope to come here, you see. Mochizuki. Mochizuki Toya. Toya is my given name. Yes, young Toya. Old man God addressed me as he poured us both a cup of tea. Oh, look at that. My tea stalk's upright. Lucky me. I guess it's a superstition thing. If your tea stalk is upright when you have tea, it means you get good luck or something. I guess. I don't know. I thought. Young Toya, are you not a tad too calm in this situation? You are very much dead. I had thought you would have been more panicked or perhaps even furious. Yeah, that would have been the normal response to finding out suddenly that you are dead and talking to God. How is he so calm in all this? I would be freaking out, crying, begging to go back. Because, yeah, if there's no video games or TV or anything like that in heaven, yeah, I'd rather not be there. I'd rather be in limbo, because at least then it's what you expect. I'm a dead man talking. Quite frankly, I'm having a hard time believing this is even real. Still, what's done is done. No use pointing fingers over it. Yeah, because you can't really change it. That is a rather philosophical outlook. Even so, I never thought I'd die at 15. I sipped my tea at that thought crossed my mind. Ah, delicious. So what happens next? Heaven or hell? Which way are you sending me? Oh no, Paris thought. This was all my fault, and I will gladly take responsibility for that. You'll be resurrected in a moment. Don't you worry about that. But God stumbled over his words for a moment. I couldn't help but wonder what was wrong. I can certainly restore you to life, but I cannot simply place you back where you came from. There are rules about this kind of thing, you understand? Once again, allow me to profusely apologize for this situation. Now, to the point. Go on. Excuse me. I said encouragingly. It is possible to grant you a life in a different... Hang on. Let me just check something real quick. I had heard that noise. Okay. Just making sure. It is possible to grant you life in a different world. A chance to begin anew, so to speak. Of course, I will understand if you don't like the idea, but sounds good to me. It does? Finding his endless apology cut short, God's face was now almost comically blank. I mean, who wouldn't want to be reborn or reincarnated or whatever in another world? Anybody, if even anime fans would jump at that opportunity. I would. Especially if it's an anime world. I'll be like, oh yes, send me down there, please. I probably wouldn't even... Actually, I would care if what world it is, to be completely honest. There are some worlds I would not want to be brought into. Let's see. Tokyo Ghoul, for example. Goblin Slayer, for example. Let's see. The world of Berserk. What was it? Blood? It was either Blood Plus or Blood C. I can't remember. The one where all the creepy creatures are running around killing everybody. There's a bunch of worlds I would not want to be reborn into, but one of the others I want to be reborn into, probably the most, Pokemon, for example. That would be awesome. But yeah. I don't know why. I don't know when Brotherhood will go... Okay, you can turn on the tablet now because it's already past 10 o'clock, so you can get on the tablet. Just don't bother me, please. If that's the way it has to be, then that's all there is to it. I'm just honestly just happy I get another chance, so it's fine by me. Yeah. Let's see. You truly are an amazing young man. You definitely could have made something of yourself if you were still alive down there. Yeah, he could have. Please forgive my carelessness. Poor old God looked very downtrodden indeed. Oh my god. Hang on, guys. I'm gonna have to edit this anyway. So, we'll finish exploding the house and then give him the tablet. I think he's playing Minecraft. Look very downtrodden indeed. I was very close to my own grandfather, so I felt a bit bad for me as well. I knew it was silly, but I definitely empathized with him. Besides, I was talking to God of all people. I had never been very religious, but I wasn't so stupid as to get up and start yelling at the guy, demanding he make everything right again. I did feel very sad about never being able to see my family or friends ever again, but that wasn't something that could be fixed by blaming God. My granddad told me to be a good person, the kind of person who forgave other people when they made mistakes. By all accounts, gods were people as well. Probably. At least allow me to make it up to you somehow. I am permitted to grant you small favors like that. Does anything come to mind? Well, you've kind of put me on the spot here. Being able to go home would be nice, but that was against the rules. As such, I had no choice but think of something else. Something that could be of use to me in this new world. The world you're sending me to. What kind of place is it? In comparison to your world, it is not quite as developed as of yet. Your world was the one with the Middle Ages, correct? I suppose it is close to that level on a societal standpoint. Well, half of it at least. It varies a bit by location. Well, that was certainly a drop as far as quality of life was concerned. Hearing that made me feel a little worried. Could I really survive just being thrown into that kind of landscape, unaware, left to fend for myself? Oh, that's it. I realized. There is one thing. Oh, there is? State it and I will see what I can be. What can do that? I will see what can be done. I cannot talk today. This. Can you make it so I can still use it while I'm over there? I produced the item I desired from my uniform pocket, an object akin to a small metal board, the device known as the all-powerful cellular phone. Well, really, it was just my smartphone. That is all? Well, I do suppose it is possible. I would have to impose some restrictions on its usage, however, if that's acceptable. What kind? You will not be able to directly communicate with anyone through it. In simpler terms, I should say you cannot use it to interact with your old world. No texting, no posting on websites, and no outgoing calls. However, you will still be able to observe, browse, and use search functions and whatnot. What else? Oh, I will give you my telephone number as well. Sounds good to me. All the information from my old world would make for a powerful weapon. I didn't exactly know how at the time, but I was sure that it would prove useful. I will link the battery directly to your magic so as to keep it charged at all times. You will not have to worry about it running out of power. Sorry, did you just say magic? Are you telling me that the people in my new world can cast spells and stuff? Well, yes, fear not, you should be able to use it freely in due time. I was going to become a wizard. Amazing. I was really going to become a wizard as I started off life in another world. Alright then. We should really see to getting you back on your feet now, eh? Thank you for all this, really. Not at all. This whole situation was a result of my mistake to begin with. Speaking of which, one last thing. God gently raised his arm out toward me. I was wrapped in a warm, gentle light for a moment. It would be quite tragic indeed were you to die again immediately after being revived, so I have given all your basic abilities a small boost. Your body will be stronger, your mind sharper, and so on. Either way, it should be considerably harder for you to die this time around. Well, unless some silly old god drops lightning on your head. The kindly Yoko smiled dryly, and I found myself smiling too. I will be unable to do much for you directly once you are down in the world below. So just consider that a little present from me. Thanks again. I may not be able to interfere with the lower realms too much, but I can always offer you advice should you require it. God pointed at my phone as he spoke. This was a bit of a tough one. I couldn't exactly call God every evening asking how to do this or that, so I figured I should hold off on calling him unless the situation was particularly serious. Well then, until next time, God saw me off with a saintly smile and I blacked out in an instant. Chapter 1! In Another World! Yay! I came to my senses lying on my back and gazing up at the sky. The clouds were floating on gently by and I could hear birds chirping in the distance. I clambered to my feet, noticing my body didn't hurt at all. As I surveyed my surroundings, I took note of mountains and grassy plains all around me. I could see a large tree in the distance. Plus, I thought I could make out a road next to it as well. There was no mistaking it. I was in another world. Guess I'll just walk the road and see if I run into anyone. My immediate checkpoint in sight, I set off towards the big tree. Upon reaching it, I got a better look at things. I was right. There was a road nearby. Now, left or right? That is the question. I pondered my options beneath the shade of the giant tree. The nearest landmark to my right looked to be an hour's walk away. Off to the left, I could make out a town. It was probably 8 hours by foot. As I was lost in thought, my smartphone began to ring. The caller ID was listed as God. Hello? Oh, it went through. I see that you have arrived safely. I could hear God's voice as I held the phone close to my ear. We'd only just parted, but it felt as though we were talking for the first time in forever. Oh my god, hang on. Sorry about that, guys. Well, at least I get to edit this video. Let's see. I forgot to mention one thing. The maps and compass and such on your phone should be compatible with this world now. I hope they help you out somehow. Well, really, that's great timing, actually. I was a little bit lost and wondering where I should go. I had assumed so I could have just as easily dropped you in the middle of the town, but think of the panic that would ensue. I had thought you would rather avoid that, so I dropped you off where nobody could see you instead. Of course, that brings us to the problem of you being lost in the middle of the nowhere. Yep, I answered with a somewhat wry smile. It was only natural I'd be lost. I didn't have a destination, a hometown, or even any acquaintances. If you follow your map, you should be able to reach the nearest town without incident. Do your best out there. Goodbye. Will do. Later. As the call ended, I went back to the home screen, located the map application, and opened it up. My location was displayed in the very center of the map. A road stretched out right alongside that point. This must have been the very road I was looking at. Zooming further out, I took note of the town to the west. It was Reflet? The town of Reflet. Well, I guess that's where I'm headed. Firing up a simple compass app, I took heed and headed west. After walking a fair bit, the reality of my situation finally began to sink in. To begin with, I had no food, not to mention the fact that I had no water. Once I got into town, what then? I had no money. I still had my wallet, but what good was that? Was there an exchange rate for my country's currency? From a logical perspective, it was all worthless now. What to do? As I was lost in thought, a sound steadily approached from behind. I turned around to check and saw something off in the distance. It was heading this way, and it appeared to be a horse-drawn carriage. I had never seen a carriage before in my life, but it was generally something you'd find. Hang on. Stupid mouse, where are you at? Generally something you'd find someone riding it. This would be first contact with life in another world. Think, what should I do? Try and stop it? I could have asked for a ride into town, but I decided against the idea. Why? A simple enough reason. As the carriage grew closer, I could tell at a glance that it was a very high-class vehicle. Its physical appearance showed that it was gorgeously adorned and built of the highest craftsmanship. Even I could tell at a glance that it was a sort of vehicle ridden by a noble, or at least some rich person of high status. If I were to stop a carriage like that, only to be met with a line like, insolent knave, I'll see you hanged for this, then it'd be no laughing matter. I decided it was in my best interest to give way instead, so I simply moved to the edge of the road. The carriage passed me by, kicking up a cloud of dust in its wake. Good, I was glad I'd managed to avoid any trouble. However, as I turned to resume walking down the road, I noticed that it had come to a stop a short way away. Yes, you over there. A man slammed the carriage door open and stepped out. He was an older gentleman with gray hair with a splendid mustache. He wore a stylish scarf and mantle, and a rose brooch shone on his chest. Yes? What is it? Clearly excited about something, the older gentleman made his way over. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I was mostly just relieved that we seemed to be speaking the same language. Yeah, that's good. The man firmly gripped my shoulders and held me in place. His eyes wandered all across my body as though slowly savoring something. Wait, what? This could be bad. Yeah. Oh, where in the world did you get these clothes? Sorry? I was taken aback, left utterly baffled by this question. The gentleman was so immersed in scanning my school uniform from every single what? Oh, angle. Every angle. I'm sorry. They didn't even pay attention to my confusion. I've never seen a design such as this, and the way this was sewn. How could this have been made? And then it all started to make sense. To put it sharply, my uniform was rare. Maybe nothing else like it existed in this world. In that case, you can have it if you like. Are you certain? The mustachioed gentleman took the bait. I acquired these clothes from a traveling merchant. If you would rather have them, I don't mind handing them over. However, that puts me at a loss, and I have nothing to wear. Or as I'd have nothing to wear. If you might kindly take me into town and help me find a new set of clothes, I'd be very grateful. I couldn't possibly have told him that my clothes came from another world, so I was forced to come up with an excuse. If I somehow managed to sell my clothes and make a bit of money off of them, that was one problem solved. Plus, it would help me get clothes that didn't stand out so much. Killing two birds with one stone, so to speak. Very well. Step aboard and accompany me to town. I shall have new clothes prepared for you on the double. You may sell your current garments once that is taken care of. Then we have a deal, I sternly replied. The mustachioed gentleman firmly shook my hand in response. After that, it only took 3 hours to reach the town of Reflip by carriage. During the journey, the gentleman who introduced himself as Zanuck took my jacket and ran his hands over it several times, examining it down to every last seam. He seemed extremely interested in the make of the clothes. Once I learned of his job, it all made sense. Apparently, Zanuck worked in the fashion industry. That explained his initial reaction and all of his curious behavior. Today, too, it seemed he had been on his way back from a meeting of some kind. As for me, I passed time staring out the carriage window, the scenery of a brand new world, a world which was my new home. It had been 3 hours since I first met Zanuck. After a bit of rocking and shaking, the carriage safely arrived at Reflet. A soldier, possibly some kind of gatekeeper, met us at the entrance and questioned us before promptly allowing us to pass. From his reaction, it seemed that Zanuck was quite famous. The carriage rattled loudly as we proceeded down the town streets. Since the roads were old cobblestone, it shook quite a bit. Carrying on, we made our way to what seemed to be a prosperous shopping district with many stores all lined up in a row. The carriage stopped in front of one such shop. We've arrived. Come now, let's see you into some new clothes. I did as Zanuck asked and stepped out onto the street. The store's signboard sported a needle and thread design, but it was the writing below that had me alerted me to an alarming fact. I can't read it. I couldn't read what was written on the sign. That definitely wasn't good news. That's not good. You're going to have to learn to read and write in this language. I had thought it might be okay since I was able to talk just fine, but that seemed not to be the case. It could have been worse, I suppose, since at least being able to converse means I could still have somebody teach me how to read and write. Day 1 in another world, and I already had something to study. Yep. And if it hadn't been reading and writing, it probably would have been something else. Zanuck led me into the shop, and several of the staff came to greet us. Welcome back, owner. I was taken aback by what they said. Owner? Ah, I run the store, but that's not important right now. Let's get you changed. Somebody pick out new clothes for this boy. Zanuck whisked me off into a changing room, which was an actual small room with a door, not just a box with a curtain dividing it off. After that, he rushed back in with a pile of clothes. I removed my blazer, tie, and shirt so I could begin getting changed. I was wearing a simple black t-shirt underneath, and it seemed to have caught Zanuck's eye as well. Might I press you to sell me these undergarments? These undergarments as well. This is not going to be good. The scoundrel. In the end, I was made to sell every last thread off my back, everything including my socks and shoes. By the time my underpants were added to the list of demands, I had become quite tired of the ordeal. I understand how I felt. I just wish you could have understood how I felt. The clothes and shoes he prepared for me in return were comfy and easy to wear. I certainly had no complaints about them. Black pants and a white shirt with a black jacket over the top. A chic outfit that also wasn't too showy. I liked it. It kept me from standing out. Now, how much are you selling me your clothes for? I'll spare no expense, of course. But did you have a particular charge in mind? Well, I'm afraid I don't really have a good estimate in mind. This isn't my field of expertise, you see. I can only assume they are expensive, but to be completely honest, I'm penniless right now. I see. That is rather sad to hear. Hang on, how come he said penniless, but the guy somehow understood what he meant, even though pennies obviously don't exist in this world? Well, pennies technically exist as copper pieces, but they're not called pennies, they're just called copper coins. So how was he able to use that expression, and it still makes sense? then again, I guess he probably doesn't know what the currency is in this world, so... Okay, I see. That is rather sad to hear. Well then, how does 10 gold pieces sound? Without any knowledge of the currency in this world, I had no way to judge the worth of 10 gold pieces. As such, I accepted. Sounds good. Wonderful. Well, here you are, Zanuck replied, clearly pleased by my answer. 10 gold pieces jingled in the palm of my hand. Each one was about as big as a 500 yen coin and had engravings of something resembling a lion. It was my entire life savings, something I had to spend wisely. By the way, you wouldn't know where I could find some place like an inn, would you? I'd like to find a place to rest my head before the sun goes down. An inn, yes. Turn right as you go out into the street, then follow the road. You should see a sign for the Silver Moon Inn. Won't be hard to find. Even if I did spot it, I wouldn't know because I couldn't read. Well, it would be a problem since I could just keep asking people as I went. Even if I couldn't read, I could still talk. Got it, thanks. I'll be on my way then. Very well, if you come across any other unusual garments, please bring them my way. I said my goodbyes to Zanuck and left the shop. The sun was still high in the sky. I took my smartphone out and turned it on. The time seemed to be just before 2 p.m. I wondered this in the carriage, but the time should be accurate too, right? Going by the sun, it couldn't have been too far off at least. Right then, something suddenly came to mind. I fired up the map application. It showed my current location on the town map, and sure enough, the street and shop names were also displayed. Excuse me. I certainly wouldn't be getting lost now. I found the Silver Moon Inn on the app quickly enough. Oh, wait a minute. I turned back and looked at Zanuck's shop. Fashion King Zanuck. That's seriously what the sign said? I set out for the inn, all the while feeling bad for poor Zanuck and his terrible naming sense. After a bit of walking, I found the sign for the Silver Moon Inn. The logo had a crescent moon design, fairly standard all things considered. The building, which was made of brick and wood, looked like it stood 3 stories tall. It certainly seemed sturdy enough at any rate. I passed through the double-leaf doors. The room instead resembled a bar or dining hall with a large counter on the right. To the left, there were stairs leading upward. Welcome. Are you here for a meal, or is it a room you want? The lady behind the counter called out to me. Her red hair was tied up in a ponytail, and she looked quite lively. A woman in her early 20s or so, I guessed. Ah, I'd like to rent a room, please. How much a night? 2 copper. Meals are included with the price. Oh, you'll have to pay up front as well. 2 copper coins. I couldn't tell if that was expensive or cheap. Logically, it was at least cheaper than 1 gold coin, but I couldn't guess how many coppers made up 1 gold. With no other option, I took 1 gold coin from my wallet and placed it on the counter. How many nights will this get me? What do you mean, how many? 50, right? She replied, clearly exasperated. 50? I felt stung by the sudden look she gave me, which made me feel like she was basically saying, hey, can't you count or something? So then, 1 gold equals 100 copper. 10 gold could buy me 500 nights. I could live comfortably for about 1.5 years without lifting a finger. Well, that meant I had a lot of money, didn't I? Well, what'll it be? 1 month's lodging, please. Alrighty, 1 month it is. I haven't had many customers lately, so you're kind of a lifesaver right now. Thank you. I'm out of silver coins, though, so I'll just give you the change in copper. The lady took my gold coin and returned 40 copper to me. If she took 60 copper, then that meant 1 month was roughly 30 days in this world, too. Pretty close to the old world, then. With that sorted, the lady brought out what appeared to be a hotel register from behind the counter. She opened it up from in front of me, then handed me a feather pen. Okay, then, if you could just sign here, please. Excuse me. Thing is, I can't actually write. Could you fill it out for me, please? Really? Well, that's fine. What's your name? It's Mochizuki. Mochizuki Toya. Mochizuki? That's a pretty unusual name. Oh, wait, no. My given name is Toya. Mochizuki is my surname. Our family name. Oh, okay. Your given name and family name are reversed. Are you from Easton? Somewhere around this part, yes, sure. Yeah. I hadn't the faintest clue where this world Easton was, but I couldn't come up with anything better, so I left it at that. I resolved to look over my map, best to see if I could find this Easton place on it. Or better later to find it, see if I can find it on there. Okay, your room is on the 3rd floor right at the end. It gets the best sunlight out of all our rooms. Here's your key, be sure not to lose it. The toilet and the bath are... I cannot talk today! That's not good. Are both on the 1st floor, and this room here is for dining. Speaking of which, will you be having lunch today? Oh, please, I haven't eaten since this morning. I'll whip something up for it real quick then. You could use this time to go check out your room, maybe rest a bit. Got it, I said. I then took my room key, went upstairs to the third floor, and opened the door to my room. It was roughly the size of a six tatami room, featuring a bed, desk, chair, and closet. I opened the window and looked down on the street. The view was really nice. Also, it was heartwarming watching children running around and playing below. Invigorated and in a surprisingly pleasant mood, I left my room and locked it shut. As I made my way back downstairs, I was greeted by a lovely smell. Here you go, sorry for the wait. I took a seat in the dining room and the lady carried my meal out to me. There was some soup, something resembling a sandwich, and a salad. The bread was a bit hard, but very good for the first loaf I tried in another world. Delicious even. I devoured the entire thing. After that, I gave some thought to my next course of action. I was going to be staying at the inn for a while, so I figured I should go get a feel for how things were around town. I'm heading out for a walk. Alrighty, see you later then. After the innkeeper, who told me her name was Micah, saw me off, I left to go explore the rest of town. Okay, this is where I actually ended up stopping for the night. So this is all going to be new for me. New-ish. Being a town in another world, everything was unusual and fascinating. My wandering gear made some people regard me with suspicion, and whenever I grew aware of that fact, it caused my gaze to wander even more. Carrying on like that would have put me in an endless loop. That was no good. One thing I did notice about the people in town was how many of them were carrying weapons around. Some had swords or axes, others had knives, and a few were even carrying whips. It struck me as somewhat dangerous, but I figured that was just how it was in this world. I made note to consider buying a weapon of my own. First things first, though. I need to start making money. I can't very well live in this world without a source of income. Never would have thought I'd be job hunting so soon. Honestly, it would have been nice if I had a specialty of some kind. Alas, my best subject in school was history, and the history of another world wasn't exactly much help. The only other thing that came to mind was music. Did this world even have pianos? Well, oh shoot, I just realized. I didn't even make this into full screen mode. Oh, I'm stupid. There we go. Did this world even have pianos? Well, even if there were some around, it wasn't like I was especially talented at it. Something suddenly caught my attention. Noises, voices even, loud voices coming from one of the alleyways off of the main road. It sounded like an argument of some kind. Yes, I could check that out. With that thought, I set off for the back alley. Eh. Dang it. Okay, 37 minutes already. About 38 minutes. Should I stop? Yeah, I think I'll stop. I'm sorry, guys. I should have made this, full screen from the start. I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for this stream. I apologize I didn't get very much going. But there's only so long I can read out loud like this for a time before it starts messing with my throat, and I still have to work today. So, yeah, I'd rather not be hacking and coughing because I have a sore throat while at work. Don't need anybody thinking I have COVID. Anyway, I'll get to work on editing this video, and I'll get it uploaded on YouTube, and I'll see you guys next time.